Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net, and today's video is all about the difference between learning the note names on guitar versus the function of the notes. So what do we mean by that? So I could learn that this note here is a C note. Okay, great. But the job's not done. That's good to know that it's a C note, but how is it functioning? How does it sound in the context in which I use it? Any one note can sound many ways, okay? You can get any emotion from a single note. So if I play that note over a C chord, it's functioning in a certain way, it sounds a certain way. If I play that C note over an A minor chord, it's now got a different emotion to it, a different function. If I play it over an F, it's going to sound different again, as it will over a G, back to a C. So we want to focus on the function of the note, the sound of the note versus just the note name. Knowing the note names, yes, important, but it's a starting point. There's more to do there. So in today's lesson, I sit down with guitar playing breakthrough specialist Tom Hess, and he's going to discuss and demonstrate this probably better than what I am right now, and certainly in more detail. You're going to learn what the difference is between note names and note functions, why you want to learn the functions of the notes over the note names, the benefits of that to your playing, and how to best practice this, how to train this in your guitar playing, plus a whole lot more. So let's get into it. First tip for learning the fretboard, what should we do?
Well, I think really the starting point here is about direction or maybe even philosophy. So what I mean by that is when most people think about learning the fretboard, where are the notes, where are the chords and scales and modes and fingerings, arpeggio shapes, and where are all the notes within all of those, and what do they mean, what do they do? You can approach this from thinking about letter names or note names or even names of chords. And that's the most common typical approach. Or you can focus on the function of notes within a key, within a scale, within a chord, within an arpeggio. Okay. And the function of the notes, when I say function, I mean like if a note is the third of a chord or the flatted sixth of a scale or key. Okay. Those functions lead you to knowing, or it makes it possible to know what the note is going to sound like and feel like in advance. The letter names do not and cannot do that without some calculations on your part. So when I was first learning to play guitar, I didn't know what functions of notes were, but I knew what the letter names were. I knew that this was G and that was B flat, etc. Okay. And my guitar teachers at the time wanted me to learn where the notes were, the names of chords, the names of scales and modes, learn where a G major arpeggio was, all of those sorts of things. So I went on that path for a long time and I got pretty good at it. But once I knew where the notes were, I wasn't finished. It wasn't done. Because in order for any of that information to become useful, I had to then take that information, whereas the G note on the D string, for example, and then understand what that note is doing or how it's working within the context of a scale or a chord or a key or whatever. So I wasn't done. Learning the names of the notes helped, but that wasn't the ending point. That was really the starting point. And then after that, I had to figure out, okay, well, how does the G note relate to an E minor chord? So if there's an E minor chord being played right now, and I play the G note on the D string, if I didn't know that note is the minor third of that chord, I wouldn't be able to predict in advance what that note was going to sound like and feel like. So once I realized that, I had kind of an epiphany where I realized that, learning the names of the notes, it's important up to a certain point, but it will take you no further without the corresponding understanding of the theory that goes beyond it. So that meant that my journey was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to learn the notes and I was going to be done. Well, that wasn't the case. Years later, I focused primarily on just thinking about and visualizing where the functions of notes are in a certain key or whatever scale fingering I'm playing, or against whatever chord is being played in that moment. Because once you know that information, that tells you so much more And if you know, for example, what the ninth feels like over a major chord or over a minor chord, or what a major seventh note feels like over, let's say, the one chord in a major key, you have just unlocked many, many doors to being able to improvise or create or write or play by ear so much more easily, because you understand the feeling that those notes are going to produce when you play them, or when you hear other people playing them, you'll know, okay, this is the feeling that I'm experiencing when he plays that note over this chord. And now I know exactly what that is, because I know that the flatted sixth over the major chord feels a particular certain way every single time. It's very predictable. So that opened up a lot of doors for me. So getting back to your question, Simon, about sort of what is the best way, or at least one of the best ways to learn your fretboard, the answer is it depends. And it depends on what you're trying to do right now. So if you're trying to learn where the letter names are, okay, where that's C, okay, and that's B flat, and that's G, if that's what you're trying to do, there's a whole set of tactics and strategies that you can use to learn those things. If you want to focus on shapes, chord shapes, scale fingering shapes, arpeggio shapes, there's a separate set of tactics that one could use for that. But if you want to understand where the functions are of notes within a given chord or key or scale or arpeggio, there's a separate set of things you can do for that. So before I can answer anything, I have to lay this out and say, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish right now. So I imagine that when most people here today with us live, or who will hear the recording of this, Simon, probably come here thinking about, how do I learn the notes? Where are the letter names? They're probably thinking about letter names. And if that's where we wanted to begin or start the discussion, we can, and we can get into the function thing maybe later.
I know the answer to this, but just to clarify for everyone here, you're saying that you want to learn both, right? You want to learn the note names, but there's not much use to knowing the note names if you don't know how they function, because all you're going to do is just remember sort of note names in an arbitrary sort of way, and you won't really be able to do too much with it, right?
Yes, because, for example, if we know that this note is G, and it is, okay, that doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't tell us what it's going to sound like or feel like. Even if you have perfect pitch and you do know what it's going to sound like because you have perfect pitch, you have no idea what it's going to feel like until we have context, until there are chords that this note is played over, or you're playing it within a particular key or scale, okay? So the G note over a G chord, this note feels a certain way over this chord. But if we change chords, let's say to C, guitar's a little bit out of tune here. This note feels different now over this chord than it does over this chord. If we change chords again to E minor, same note, same sound, different feeling. Okay, so as a guitar player or songwriter or improviser, it's important to know what the feeling of the note's going to be before you play it, because when you know that, doors just unlock like magic, and you can do so much more as a guitar player, so much faster. It makes it easier to learn. You'll learn things faster. You'll identify things by ear faster. Improvising what you want becomes easier, and writing music becomes much faster. So it's a core skill to get to. But maybe in the beginning, it's just good to know that this is G.
If you like this video, you'll love this ebook complete with video examples called 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. Do you struggle to make the fingerpicking patterns you learn on guitar sound like music? Perhaps it's because you believe in one or more of these fingerpicking pattern myths. 1. You need to know a lot of patterns to have your fingerpicking sound musical. 2. Only advanced fingerpicking patterns sound musical. Easy patterns are too basic to sound any good. Or 3. There is a magic pattern out there somewhere that once found will finally have your fingerpicking sound the way you want it to. None of these myths are true. This is because fingerpicking patterns alone are not musical. they're technical. It's what you do with the patterns that will determine how musical they sound. In this ebook, you learn how to make the most boring fingerpicking patterns sound amazing instantly. Plus, the simple trick to make advanced fingerpicking patterns easier to play, and the thumb and one finger trick that's so simple and will have your fingerpicking sounding pro in no time. Click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook complete with video examples, 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments section what acoustic guitar topics or music topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. I'm always keen to hear what people would like to see. I read the comments, I reply, so don't be shy, drop us a line and I will consider whatever you have to suggest. If you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel if you do like it. The last check, I think it was around 70 or 80% of people who watch my videos regularly are not subscribed. You might think you are because you see them come up in your feed because you've seen videos of mine before, but this does not mean you're subscribed. So if you like the channel, subscribe and hit the notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net. As always, thank you so much for being here and checking out the video. I hope you got a lot from it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.